It is a day we have all been waiting for. A day that our parents dreamed about for their children.
Mm-hmm.
A day that we can have the reviews come out for possibly the greatest cinematic achievement in the history of the industry. Madam Web. So, to catch you up to speed, Madam Web was a concept that a lot of people scratched their heads and said, why are you even making this? But then admittedly for me, when I heard the basic idea, at least the rumors of the basic idea for it, I kind of got intrigued. I was like, this sounds like it could be pretty good. Well, then the first trailer came out, and it was like the most wooden dialogue I've ever heard in a trailer. Then Sony never even bothered to put out a second trailer. And then the final nail. Word came out that they weren't going to lift their review embargo until the day before the movie came out. That is always a sign that the studio thinks their movie sucks. Not that other people think it sucks, that the studio itself thinks their movie sucks. And of course, my saying is always, hey, studio, if you don't believe in your movie, why should I? And so it was with not a lot of surprise that the first reactions for Madam Web started to come out. And let's take a look at some of them. First reaction I came across was Morbius was better.
Oh, no.
This was coming out of the premiere, by the way. This is coming, Chris, you said it this morning, and I agree. I can't even believe they did a premiere for this movie. But Morbius was better is the first reaction. Second one from Chris Parker. Madam Web is an embarrassing mess. Talented stars wasted on probably the worst comic book movie I've ever seen. Remember, we live in a world with Morbius. Filled with atrocious dialogue, awkward editing, and all-around laughable structure. I sat there baffled, scene by scene. Somebody approved this. This meme will redeem it. I'm not going to click on play just in case there's some problem. Now, the best review I've heard is this one. Madam Web is totally fine. There's really not a lot to say here. The leads are charming. Dakota is a witchy weirdo. The slasher / Final Destination meets superheroes vibes are there. But there's just not a whole lot to it. Not a disaster. Just kind of there. Okay.
It's like me.
Next one. Madam Web is a clunky, poorly written messy and sloppy movie packed with some mediocre editing and performances. Even though it had solid cinematography and an interesting concept, it couldn't be saved due to its terrible execution. Darth Rhodes, I was not, unfortunately, successfully entertained. Madam Web is a series of misses and wasted opportunities, and not just for obvious reasons. Next one, Brandon wrote, I watched Madam Web, and it was bad. I tried to give it a chance, but sadly the poor execution didn't help it. The cast was awesome, but the performances were definitely disappointing. Now, if we jump over to Rotten Tomatoes, we see that right now it has, I'm not going to lie, a better than I expected 17%. Right, actually, let me reload this page and see if it's gone up at all. Nope, still 17%.
Woof.
And one of the first things I read this morning, I think it was either IGN or one of the other ones, that the review simply started with the line, I owe Morbius an apology. Was a great way to start a review. So let's jump down here and take a look at some of the reviews. Now remember, it's 17%. That means there are going to be some people that like it. Let's see. AV Club writes, Madam Web is a laughable affair, intentionally so at times, but for much of its 2-hour runtime, the laughs come at the expense of the arguably capable work being put into it by its charming lead. Mashable wrote, Madam Web is burdened by too many threads and not enough fun still. It could be worse. That's glowing. Put that on the poster. It could be worse from Mashable. Deadline wrote, Madam Web embodies the pitfalls of mainstream superhero cinemas, films not driven by story and character, but seemingly by studio mandates and franchise considerations. The Chicago Tribune writes, nobody in this movie pops or crackles or snaps or finds ways to energize the blah blah. The action's not much. The acting's minimalistic, bordering on, I don't even know what that word is.
Somnambulant? I'm
Sure.
looking it up.
I'm going to look that up. The Associated Press writes, it's too bad because there could have been more fun movie in there. Clarkson imbues it with a distinctly feminine and teenage energy that makes good use of its soundtrack, but it spins itself into a knot trying to justify a silly story instead.
It's sluggish.
And then we come to a positive review that says, isn't going to, and for whatever, I think the thing's stuck there, Jonathan, isn't going to reverse the ongoing decline of superhero cinema, but unlike some of its notable contemporaries, it's strong enough to make its intended sequels feel like promises rather than threats. I like that.
Oh, there we go. Now it's moved. It moved.
All right. Let's see. This one says, within 5 minutes of Madam Web, this is, again, another positive one. I heard in my head, it's Morbin time. The film spins in a really good time by being entertainingly terrible. Or, this is a positive review, being entertainingly terrible or what some might call camp. Frankly, after seeing it, I am so ready and excited to watch Craven. Cinemania writes, a weak script incapable of taking advantage of an extensive collection of comics inevitably leads to disaster. There are action scenes that never happen that seem to be saying that what matters to the public is no longer relevant beyond justifying a brand. And our John Roque over there wrote, Madam Web is a boring and ineffectual film that paralyzes its acting talent with poisonous script full of laughable dialogue, nonsensical character choices, and unearned moments of emotional closure while not delivering on any of its superhero promises. Okay.
But at least there's going to be a part 2.
At least there's almost guarantees a sequel. Right. First things first. I want to remind everybody that this movie is one that I have not seen yet. Ray and I are going to go watch it tomorrow night. We haven't seen it yet. Maybe.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, man.
So I cannot speak to its awfulness firsthand. I've just been anticipating its awfulness because Sony has effectively told us the movie's awful, right? Sony has spent the last number of months telling us that this movie's awful. I am still beside myself trying to understand how they started this project by getting the writers of Morbius. Actually, let me bring up the writers again, because I want to get the other movies. The writers of Morbius, of Gods of Egypt.
We're just outing these people now, huh?
Of Dracula Untold. I will give them credit for, what was it called? Lost in Space. I will give them credit for Lost in Space, the Netflix show, because that wasn't bad. That was actually pretty okay. But they wrote Morbius, Power Rangers, Gods of Egypt, The Last Witch Hunter, which is vomit-inducingly bad, Dracula Untold. So Sony started with, let's really give this all of our effort. Let's go out and get nothing but the best. And they got quite possibly the worst writers working in Hollywood right now that's getting their stuff produced. So they started off by getting the worst writers they possibly could. Then they put out a trailer with the most wooden dialogue they could have assembled. Didn't even bother to put out 2 more trailers, which a standard movie does. Held the review embargo. I'm telling you, Sony has spent months telling us this movie is bad. Some of us just didn't believe them. I did. Marcus, why? Where's Sony, Jesus? That's Craven. Craven's going to save it all.
I'm looking for a reason to be excited for this movie, and I found it.
What is it?
AMC Theaters is selling a Coca-Cola light-up cup that I will get tomorrow.
There we go.
It's not even like branded for Madam Web, by the way.
No, it's just a light-up cup. It's not even a
glowing
Madam Web
Coca-Cola
light-up cup.
Yeah.
Let me have this.
You can have it.
Let me just have this.
This
Put a literal light beacon in this bleak evening you're going to have.
Look at this.
this movie proves again that Warner Brothers was right. If a movie sucks this bad, you just pull it. You don't put it out. Because this movie being this bad, by them putting this out in theaters, they've now hurt their future box office for Kraven the Hunter. They've hurt their future box office and excitement levels and potential buzz for Venom 3. This is a project, if it's this bad, they should have just fucking pulled it. And I'll go back further. No, they should have just fucking tried. They should have tried. Now, look, I said this before, but let me say it again because I think it's relevant. I always push back on my fellow movie fans when they say, they didn't even try. It's like, you know what? They did try. Making movies are super, super hard. Everybody starts making a movie, planning their Oscar acceptance speech in their head. Everybody thinks they're going to do something great, and they try, but making a good movie is really hard, and oftentimes people just fail, but not from a lack of effort. This is the one time, though, I got to look at Sony and say, I don't see the effort. You literally started off with the worst writers you could have possibly gotten. Oh, because we just worked with them on Morbius. How'd that turn out?
It got a re-release.
Yeah, they got the big re-release. They didn't even bother to make multiple trailers. I honestly cannot remember for the life of me the last time a wide release Hollywood film had one trailer. I can't remember. So they didn't even bother making trailers. And then when they knew their movie was crap and they knew it was hopeless, they just held the review embargo until the day before the movie came out, and they're just sitting at home in Sony Towers crossing their fingers that enough people don't have the internet and are going to run out to the movies this weekend anyway, just for something to watch because they don't like reggae and they don't want to see the Bob Marley movie.
Fools.
That's
Fools.
the
Fools, all
only
of
thing I
them.
can think of. And Chris, how does a
Help us
studio who does, listen, everybody likes to jump on Sony sometimes. Sony does some freaking awesome stuff.
Yeah.
And even just in the realm of Spider-Man, how can this studio put so much love, care, attention, recruit in the right people, empower the right people and everything for their animated Spider-Man
And
stuff,
for PlayStation.
and with all the PlayStation stuff, right? How look what they did with getting behind The Last of Us and all this kind of stuff. How can a studio a company that can do some things so very well, including their Spider-Verse in the animated side, like they bothered to get the right people. They bothered to put the right budget into it. They bothered to give it the right push. They bothered to give it the right marketing campaigns. They put their energy in it. How can they be so good at those and be so unbearably awful at this? Because I'm starting to think Tom Hardy himself single-handedly saved Venom. Like, I don't know what's going on here. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. On average, it takes about 30 days for a person to break their New Year's resolution. So if saving money was on your 2024 list, your odds aren't looking that great. Luckily, I have a 100% guaranteed way to save you money this year. Just switch to Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for $15 a month. I've told you guys many times that after switching to Mint Mobile, I am spending less than a third on my cell bill than I used to with a major carrier. Say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. All Mint plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. And don't worry about having to change phones or numbers. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So guys, to get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bills to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. What do you make of all this?
Doesn't it make you even more mad that people told folks like Lord and Miller, hey, maybe one day you'll get to direct a live action film once you graduate
They're
from
like,
these
"No,
animated
thanks."
ones?
Yeah, you'll make it to the real movies.
Yeah. Like, I just keep wondering if Sony saw what happened with AMC meme stock and just went, well, let's really lay into the meme part of this.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened with Morbius, and that's what people are already saying about this, of the memeability of Madam Web. And people have been scratching their heads about this for a while, too, y'all. Like, not only did we only get that first trailer, when that first weird trailer dropped, Dakota Johnson dropped her agent and moved to a different agency.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Variety reported on this of like, maybe
totally
it's a
missed that.
coincidence, but maybe it's not, where she jumped ship from WME to CAA, which, I mean, both great agencies. Well, any actor would be so lucky to be repped by either of them, but an odd move to do the day that your trailer comes out, right? We don't have any other information coming out about this. Wildly deviates from the comics, which we know is usually not the end-all be-all of something. Marvel constantly
that
deviates.
can be fine. It can be fine that you deviate from the comics if it's good.
But they also keep deviating from the Spider-Man of it all, right? And I just don't know how they expect people to get excited about this Spider-Verse when they keep putting in so little effort from what it seems. I'm still going to see this movie, not on Valentine's Day. I don't know what person wants to have the worst romantic day of their life.
Yeah, my
You guys,
excuse is
you
my
guys.
wife is teaching a class
That makes
tomorrow
sense
night.
to me.
That's my
Poor
excuse, so I'm
Ray.
free.
No, man.
He's
I
going to
just
get that
wanna be
light up
home and
cup.
lonely.
I want to be home.
There's gonna be a lot of people home alone if they take their dates to see this movie on.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of people in the theaters.
Well, and to your point, too, about how it's going to discourage people from seeing other projects, too. I don't know how you could have faith in Kraven the Hunter, honestly, after these movies. I don't know how you could say, you know what? I'm a person who just keeps giving second chances, third chances, fourth chances, because these movies just aren't delivering. And we always want a movie to be great, right? Making a movie is hard.
Very
I don't
hard.
care what anyone
Almost
in this chat says.
impossible.
It's really hard to make a movie. It's really hard to make a good movie. And I say this with all the humility of an actor who is constantly ending up on the cutting room floor. I know that about my live action experience, so I'm not going to disparage anybody here. But when you have these resources, when you have this star power, when you have so many writers who would love to take a crack at especially these incredible characters here. I mean, a lot of these are some Spider women who a lot of people don't know about. And you have the opportunity to really mold a universe and do something really cool. It's a shame when it happens. I mean, E-Man, his out of the theater review talked about how he felt like he was trolled by this movie. I don't want to go see a movie as a Marvel fan, as a movie fan, as a human being on this planet that feels trolled by content that isn't meant to.
We better get double points for this. Like
double
triple
points.
points.
You know what? Let's. I think it's time for us to do a
Oh yeah.
a ticket update for Madam Web.
yeah.
See
There's
if
actual
anybody's.
2:30 showing.
do
We should
this.
just go to that one. The earlier we can just get it out of the way.
All right.
the
Well,
better.
let's check it out. Let's check out the 2:30 in the afternoon showing for Madam Web.
Oh, nice.
Oh my God! There's like 12 tickets sold. That's way up.
Before it was just 2.
Let's check the 5:30. I'm expecting more here.
I don't get it. Are people not doing anything for Valentine's Day?
Not this, at least.
This is opening day for Madam Web. I want to revisit something though, Chris, that you brought up.
Sure.
Because it's so key. You know, I said a little bit earlier, this kind of situation just kind of proves that, you know, if you know you've got a really, really, really bad movie on your hands, the best option might be just to shelf it. And here's where, to go back to something you brought up the Craven, right? I am somebody who have been possibly naively so optimistic.
You've been real jazzed about it.
I have
Yeah.
been optimistic about Craven the Hunter.
To a
I know
fault.
too many people who got brought in as writers after we saw footage.
But, you know, we saw the footage at CinemaCon
Yeah.
last year. It wasn't the best thing, but I liked it. I had fun with it.
A man's nose or eye got eaten.
Yep, got
Was it a
bitten
nose?
right
Was
out.
a nose? Okay.
And so while, again, admittedly, maybe naively so, I've been kind of optimistic about Craven and looking forward to seeing it. I'm not now. And I'm not saying that's fair. I'm not saying you shouldn't hold the failure of one movie against another movie. I'm not talking about choices. I'm talking about what my natural feelings are just doing now. I am no longer interested in seeing Craven. Now, when news comes out, we'll pop it. When new trailers come out, maybe those can get me jazzed a little bit again. But as of this moment, I went from being interested in Craven to now Sony shouting at us that this was a bad movie, and now hearing that it's a really bad movie. I have now lost my faith in their ability to make this universe work, and I'm no longer interested in seeing Craven. If they had just scrapped this movie, because clearly Sony knew the movie was bad, right? They've done everything to show that they knew the movie was bad. If they had just shelved this movie and pulled the plug on this movie 3 or 4 months ago, I would still be sitting here today as somebody who was looking forward to Craven. But I'm not now. And you guys know how much I love the Venom movies. I'm still looking forward to Venom 3, but my enthusiasm for Venom 3 has now dropped a bit. It would have been much better for you to, if you knew this thing was a pile of crap, to just pull the plug instead of just dump it into a theater and hope some people get tricked into go seeing an opening weekend. You've now hurt your future films by making something this bad. So maybe if you'd tried when you're starting out this project, maybe if you went out and got, I don't know, anybody else to write this, Maybe if you showed any belief in it, things would be different, but it's not. And now I don't care about Craven. And I did a couple of weeks ago. Now I don't.
At least we're going to have a real great supercut of all these reviews and the abysmal box office.
That'll be fun
and
to
then
watch.
that little moment in the trailer going, she didn't see that coming.
Oh my God.
Nice.
I cannot believe it. Cannot believe it. Anyway, guys, I can't wait to do our out of the theater reaction of Madam Web tomorrow. That's going to be a lot of, and watch this. You know what? The one silver lining, the silver lining in this
boy.
is that it is impossible for my expectations to get any lower for this movie now. I'm expecting one of the worst cinematic films of all time. That it might set me up to come out of the theater going, you know, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Maybe that's the silver lining. Maybe I'll be able to come out and go, you know, because it wasn't the worst film I've ever seen, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
So good, we might even leave early.
We might even, you know, it was so good, I don't need any more. I'm ready to go right now. So I don't know. We'll see. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.